This is Volunteer Radio, WUTK 90.3 FM Knoxville, broadcasting from the campus of the University of Tennessee at WUTKRadio.com and on your free TuneIn app.
It's time for Rock Solid Sports.
The crowd comes alive. The Volunteers are ready. It's football time in Tennessee.
Dobbs drops back, fires long for the end zone. The pass is going to be caught by Tennessee. By Tennessee, Jawan Jennings. What a turn of events.
Give him 6.
To the checkerboards. Touchdown, Tennessee.
Rock Solid Sports, the only show with a home field advantage for UT Athletics. Here's tonight's host.
Hello and welcome to the Wednesday night edition of WUTK's Rock Solid Sports. I am Dominic Wade Throngard, broadcasting live from the bowels of Andy Holt Tower. I'm joined on StreamYard by Mr. J-Dog Justin Clemmer, the man himself.
What's up, Dominic? What's up, man?
I'm feeling beautiful right about now.
Feeling great.
It's a lovely day out here in Knoxville. You also in Knoxville right now? Are you back?
I'm in Murfreesboro right now, and actually this Saturday I'm going to be flying to your home state. Dom's from Idaho, if you guys don't know. So I don't know how many times that he's heard, hey, I'm going to your home state, by the way. But, yeah, I'm going to go there for a week and hit some different national parks between, like, Wyoming, South Dakota, Montana for, like, a month. So I'm stoked to see your state of Idaho and see more than potatoes, of course.
Yes,
but
sir.
It's going to be McCall, Idaho. It's about 2.5 hours.
Very familiar.
They got like porcupine races on July 4th. So that's probably the main attraction there, and I'm stoked.
I've spent plenty of time up in McCall. It's funny to hear anyone else going up there, but yeah, plenty of beauty out there. Going all the way out to South Dakota from Idaho, though, that's a long trek east. You're in for one if you're really doing that. But, yeah, plenty to check out up there. We got more important news here, though. We are national champions, baby. Let's go.
First time in my life. I don't know if it's first time in your life. But, yeah, we finally are the last team standing. We're national champions. There was nobody who could take us down, Dominic. We finally won it all. And it felt a little weird when it happened. I don't know how you felt when that when Combs through that final pitch was like, wait, there's not another game left and we won the final game? Like, no. What is this? This isn't supposed to happen to us.
For me, I was watching and, I'm pretty still. And then all of a sudden the final pitch goes. I see him swing. I see the strike. I lose my mind immediately. Like, it all comes out at once. I scream some things that should not be screamed on air. I spill beer everywhere. I was losing my mind. I was jumping up and down, screaming, scared everyone in the vicinity of me. And, yeah, just incredible feeling. And really that game, oh, my goodness, the ninth inning never disappoints in the College World Series.
Gosh,
and the announcers kept teasing it. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like we'll get out of this ninth inning nice and easy. No, we had to do it the hard way. Very, very Vol-like of us to make it as hard as possible to win this national title. But there was no fear on the mound. We saw it. He balked a runner, sent him home even.
And just started laughing. He thought it was hilarious. He was in a psycho state of mind. And that's when I saw that. I don't know about you. I'm like, I feel really good right now. Where did you watch the game? Did you watch it at a big venue or a big watch party or something? Because I know they had a ton of those.
I wish I did, but I was actually at work for most of it. So I had my phone set up on top of the dishwasher, and you got that everywhere in Knoxville. I'm sure just so many people at work having their phones set up wherever they're working. And I'm sitting there watching the game. The whole restaurant could hear me screaming from the kitchen whenever we homer. And then I was able to catch the end, just watch the rest of it with my girlfriend. And, just lovely way to see the Vols win. I still can't really process it. I can't believe it. I don't know about you, but well, you're out in the borough, so you probably did not attend the championship parade yesterday. But I was there. It was really amazing to get to see our boys parade down Gay Street. And just the amount of people that showed up is genuinely incredible. And it's not just people from Knoxville. There are people from all over the state coming out to support this team. The Vols are for all of Tennessee. They're not just for Knoxville. They're not just for East Tennessee. And the support was unreal. Just so many people cheering. And it was funny because they had the buses going up and down Gay Street, and they were empty. The buses didn't have anyone in them. I expected, like the NBA Finals champions to have. I would expect them to be on top of the bus, and then no one was in the buses. Then they send their cars down. They got them going, and man, I certainly think them boys had themselves a night beforehand because the
one day
NBA
turnaround is nuts for a
It
parade.
is.
Because I think Boston won it like on I want to say like a Thursday or a Friday, and then their parade was, I think, like the Wednesday after. So they had plenty of time to get their post championship celebrations in for the ultimate celebration, which was the parade. And it's just so cool that we got a parade, dude. I wish I was in town for it, and just to have something so special and so worthy of the whole town coming in together, in a beautiful area like Gay Street, like Market Square, to celebrate a feeling that is very foreign to us.
Truly, and just the general vibes. It was truly amazing to see because coming to this university, like there was a lot of energy out there that was not so great for a long time. Just a very disgruntled, very frustrated fan base, understandably so, but still equally passionate, even when everything was going wrong. Which that's part of the reason I came here. Y'all are passionate when it's bad. I'm passionate when it's bad too. I'm involved for life, baby. And just for that fan base to feel so positive. It's an unreal feeling. It's kind of like everything getting turned upside down.
We came at the perfect time. Me and Dahmer will both be seniors next semester, right?
Yep.
Senior. So we came. We could have gotten our first year could have been year 2 of Heupel, where Hendon had his Heisman campaign, but we were there for the first year. We got to see it all build up. Hendon come in for Joe Milton and kind of see everything work, from the ground up. And now, it's not just Tennessee football that's been so well. It's the basketball team, baseball. I mean, obviously, just won the chip. And then there's still like softball, rowing, and just everywhere you look. Our Tennessee programs, our athletic programs, they have a number by them. It's absolutely incredible. So just we came at such a great time.
We really did. And to get a national championship as students, I would have never expected such a thing. I could have chose anywhere really when it came to my college. I did pretty okay in school, so I was getting some pretty good scholarships. I could have gone anywhere, but as much as I love sports, like I was like, I want to be at UT because those people care more than anyone else, and I want to be a part of that. And lo and behold, it paid off. I did not expect to be able to say, hey, when I was a student at UT, we won a national championship. And now I can. It's such a cool feeling.
You were at the parade for that national championship.
Literally, like that. It's crazy. Like I can't put into words how much that means, just as someone who has come into this fandom. And, I haven't suffered as much as a lot of the fans have. There's no doubt about that. But I've suffered a little with the Vols. I mean, I came in year 1 of Josh Heupel, which was a really good football year. I was really impressed with our team that year, even though, like, we didn't do amazing. It's still SEC. It's still the toughest conference in the nation. Nothing else compares. But, I dealt with the South Carolina loss, dealt with some March Madness heartbreaks, and here we are. We are national champions.
I think we're talking about all the different sports. And in the stands, it was Fulmer, it was Peyton, it was Rick Barnes, Coach Heupel, Morgan Wallen too, which I didn't really, I didn't really care about. But
I don't have great feelings about that one either.
Just like the current Mount Rushmore of Tennessee sports, right there, to see us win it all, like you said, it's just crazy. It really wraps up. It really summarizes kind of the direction that this sports, our athletic programs are all going. And, you saw Peyton interviewed after the game, talking about how baseball just won it. And he was like, how Tennessee's not done. Many more championships from other sports are on the way. And you're just inclined to believe that because how positive everything is right now and how much of a difference this feeling is than kind of what it has been. It's been growing since we started going here 3 years ago, but man, the 2010s, that was a barren era for Tennessee. We're talking Butch Jones. We're talking an irrelevant baseball program. Quanzo Martin, the basketball coach, he wasn't the best. But now everything is starting to turn around. And, one sport that comes to mind is women's basketball because that's such a staple of our sports programs, got the most national championships of any of our sports programs. So if that can come back to life too, it's just going to be absolutely incredible. And I have high hopes for it. But to see, all those Tennessee legends, current and past, at that game, to witness that moment was awesome. It was so cool.
It really was. And looking at the women's basketball team, I also have a lot of hope too. I'm really proud of the unity of this athletic department, and the choice to fire Harper was not easy. I mean, that is someone near and dear to the fans, one of the last sort of connections we have to Pat Summitt at this university. Seeing her go was very hard for a lot of people. I for one, I really thought it needed to happen. Just that our ladies basketball program has long suffered from staying within the Pat Summitt tree and just trying to hold on to something even when it was time to move forward. Obviously, we're going to always honor and respect the legacy of Pat Summitt, but there's never going to be another one. So it's time to stop pretending that we can recreate what happened and realize that we have to move forward. It's not finding the next Pat Summitt. It's finding the next Kim Caldwell. If she proves to be the next big name in women's college basketball coaching, it's always something different. You can never recreate the same thing. And so that vision from Danny White is what I've loved so much at this university. He's not felt the pressure of outside noise whatsoever. I remember so many people laughing about the Josh Heupel hire and being like, this is ridiculous. This guy from UCF,
because they were both at UCF, were they not? Yep. So it was like, I mean, I looked at it too in a way like this is kind of a lazy hire, like you're just signing your neighbor essentially.
Yep.
But I was wrong, everybody else was wrong, and how can you question Danny White at this point?
You really can't. You just really can't, because I mean, across the board, what really was so difficult for this Tennessee athletic department throughout the 2010s is the lack of unity and the lack of lateral decision making. I just feel like it was really messy for a long time, and this fan base, especially, as much as we all love each other, as much as we love this fan base, you have to tune that out when you're the athletic department. You have to tune it out, and you have to make decisions that aren't going to be popular sometimes, and you have to make decisions that are difficult.
Because Vol Twitter isn't exactly the analysis that goes on there. I see some stuff where I'm like, okay, I'm muting that account right now.
Yeah,
I love the passion. But man, did you even watch the game? Sometimes is this your first time watching football? Is this your first time watching basketball? I couldn't do it for baseball because it was kind of my first time watching.
Yeah,
yeah. Danny White, can't listen to the drunk Vol fan. That's for sure.
The specific call out is good. If you're on Vol Twitter, you know that name.
Yeah.
Vol Twitter is a fun place. I really love it. It's an honor and a privilege to be a part of it. But my goodness, y'all are insane. There's not a fan base like this one that can really rally on Twitter the same way. I mean, y'all got a coach fired. Shiano Sunday lives in infamy in all fan bases. Like that was huge across the nation. There's certainly a lot that goes on in this fan base. But yeah, the decision-making from this athletic department has been unlike anything we've seen in a long time, and it's felt extremely professional. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of emotions behind the scenes, which is huge, because when you're making decisions about winning games, when you're making decisions about making a team that's going to win championships, emotions cannot be at the forefront. It's certainly a part of college athletics more so than any other sport, which is part of the reason I love it so much. But you still have to make level-head decisions. And Danny White's done just that. Really excited about the Kim Caldwell hire. But looking across the board at UT Athletics, we don't have to live too much in fear right now. Texas A&M, their coach for their baseball team, the one we did just beat in the College World Series, got poached. Rival school, University of Texas at Austin, the fake UT, established well after us. They poached him. Jim Schlossnagle.
Schlossnagle, yeah, something like
That's
that.
a hard name to say.
It is, and you can't really blame him for taking the job, but it's just really funny after his post-game comments. The one that's gleaming in my head was when he said, "I took this Texas A&M job to be my last job, to never take another job again," something like that. And just a day later, I mean, nobody's blaming you, but it looks pretty funny. But I'm glad it's not Vitello. And you wonder if literally that Hunter Ensley play, if that just doesn't happen and we lose in extra innings, if I don't know, Vitello is going to Texas instead. I don't think that would have ever happened, but it's just cool to see, the most small plays, the most, how thin the margins are in sports.
Especially in baseball, because that's one sport where literally the difference every single year in and year out is just one tiny little play, which is why winning a championship in baseball honestly might be the most impressive out of any in college athletics, to be perfectly honest. There's just such fine margins, and you can say the same thing about football as well, and just how competitive it is too. But baseball, there's a lot of focus that goes into it. Every little play matters. But yeah, really incredible feeling to be able to have won that. And, we got to keep Tony V. I don't really think he's going anywhere either.
Get a new renovated stadium coming in the next season. And we're going to lose a lot of good guys. But how can Tennessee not be the most attractive place for these transfers?
Truly.
We're having so much fun over here. I mean, we have the best record in the hardest league since COVID.
Yep.
So just that alone, and the way Tony V speaks about all of his players, especially Cal Stark. I think the way he speaks about Cal Stark, the catcher, the guy who's not exactly jumping off the page, with his bat, but just on how hard he works and how much he's appreciated. And just hearing that from Tony V, man, it's awesome. That's our guy. It's our guy for a long time.
Undoubtedly. And he's clearly a player's coach too. He speaks to those young guys in ways that those old heads never could, man. To be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
He understands this era. He understands the youth, to sound like an old man, but he really gets it, and it shows. But yeah, it's an incredible feeling. We got plenty more on the other side of this break, though. Got some words from friends around town we need to hear, to borrow words from Seth Harper. DJ comes on later in the night, one of my good buddies there on Kill Ugly Radio. But stay tuned. You're listening to the Wednesday night edition of Rock Solid Sports on 90.3 WUTK, The Rock.
WTK 90.3, The Rock. Volunteer radio for season work. Chicago. 2024 regular season schedule. 6-game home series. Tuesday through Sundays. September at Smoky Stadium. SmokyBaseball.com.
The Rock thanks House Social. Wednesday home for Rock Solid Sports with support. American craft beer, beer, and cocktails. Plus 25 boutiques at the University Complex. House Social welcomes sports fans and members alike to enjoy dishes like Tinker's Marinated Chicken, grilled Caro Island Salmon, and smoked ribs. HouseSocial.com or on Twitter and Facebook.
90.3 The Rock is UT Athletic partner for their support. For 2024 football balls will play home games inside Wheeling Stadium. SEC rivals Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, and others. Ballballs.com for info with a link at WTKRadio.com. UTC tickets at BigOrangeTickets.utk.edu. 90.3 The Rock says, go balls.
Looking for the newest music from artists from around the world? Tune in to Volunteer Radio every Sunday from noon to 2 p.m. for New Revolutions. It's the show that debuts the freshest music from multiple genres: indie bands, garage rock, post-punk, new wave, synth-pop, funk, electronic, folk, and more. Stay in the know to discover a few new favorite bands or artists and get up to date on all the latest new music by tuning in to New Revolutions, hosted by Sarah, Sundays from noon to 2 p.m., only on Volunteer Radio 90.3 The Rock.
I want to talk about this to Teddy, a 9.3 The Rock, where music matters most.
Knoxville, be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from a contemporary alternative featuring 2 hours of Western Americana music station that first brought Knoxville music by bands from back in the old country days, like Green on Red, the Blasters, the Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo and Jason and the Scorchers, 90s Americana, like the Whiskey Cow, Gillian Wells, Wilco and others. Modern-day Americana musicians like Marco Price, Zach Bryan, Tyler Childers, Kurt Black Jr. and Charlie Crockett. You'll also get classic Americana like Lucinda Williams, the Flying Burrito Brothers, and the Birds. And there's local Americana by R.B. Fresh, Bruce Gutierrez, Trisha G. Brady, Anita the Artist, and others. There's always Patsy 99 and James is the great police and production. As upcoming Americana concerts in the area. So, if Americana music makes your musical partner come, tune in Wednesday nights at A3 Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd Chicken Grill, Bliss, and Bliss Health. And only on 90.3 The Rock. It's College and Rock.
Bum, bum, ba-dum. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. Welcome back
Love
to the
Outkast.
Wednesday night edition. Love them to death, man. Representing the ATL. We're back. It's Wednesday night. It's the 90.3 The Rock, Rock Solid Sports. We got big NBA news, especially for Mr. New York himself, Justin Clemmer on the other end.
What's up, man?
You got a trade package to break down, don't you?
Oh, yeah, man. So, Knicks always looking for that star. Well, we have our star, Jalen Brunson, arguably Julius Randle. I mean, he is our second team All-NBA twice. Who do we get? It's Mikal Bridges for a lot, though. 4 unprotected first, another protected first, and then some second-round picks, as well as Bojan Bogdanovic. But we get a guy who will fit in seamlessly with this team. We saw what OG Anunoby did for this team when he joined the team in January. So good for Julius Randle. Because look at it this way, Dom. Julius Randle struggled at his most when there wasn't shooting around him. He went from his top wing spot ups. They were RJ Barrett, Quentin Grimes, and Josh Hart. And now, Mikal Bridges, Dante DiVincenzo, OG Anunoby. These are some of the best corner three-point shooters in the league. When Randle has space, he dominates because he always is attracting double teams. This is so good, especially for Julius Randle. It's just going to open up so much. And then I also look at the defensive versatility of this team. What is the most coveted position in the league? Versatile, big defensive wings. If they can hit threes, that's just a bonus. And we got 2 of the best right now, I think, in Mikal and OG in terms of two-way wings. Because it's going to be absolute hell for anybody to go up against those guys specifically. And you got to think that what the Knicks are doing right now is, okay, how do we build a team to beat the Celtics? Because if we can beat the Celtics, we can beat anybody. Because the way the Celtics are built, they're built to beat anybody because of their versatility around their stars. It's a role player trade. Sure, they didn't get a superstar, but he's someone who stars in a role, and we've seen how important that is in the last few years. I mean, last year we talked about how Bruce Brown was so key for the Nuggets to win that championship. And, of course, the best example maybe of all time, this year's Boston Celtics, Derek White and Drew Holiday being just as good as they can in the roles that they're at and then things they're asked to do. That's what I think Mikal Bridges is going to do for this team. And, hey, I was a little worried we're going to lose OG Anunoby, but we locked him up, threw him the bag. A lot of other teams are going to give him the max. We gave him a little bit less money, so I'm really happy with that. And this New York Knicks team, hey, I think they're going to be playing in June. I'm going to be honest with you.
I certainly can see it. I really do think this is a great trade. Like you've been saying, just the versatility this adds for the squad is huge. Mikal Bridges can do a lot, and he can do a lot well, which is a piece that the Knicks were missing, especially just with the depth that they have. They needed someone who could be a little bit more, and they got that. Bogdanovich wasn't quite fulfilling that role. He was a great piece shooting-wise, not great defensively.
He's old. He's like 34.
Yeah.
He had a really bad ankle injury in the playoffs that required surgery. And yeah.
He really, all that is that's actually helpful for the Knicks. That's offloading a relatively large contract for what Bogdanovich is at this point in his career. So that's more so the Nets taking a bad piece in exchange for all those picks, which that's my main issue with this trade. I do think it's phenomenal on the floor. If this was just about the product on the floor and the court and what they're producing, I think this is a perfect fit for the Knicks. I really think that Bridges is a perfect Tibbs guy. I really do. I think that guy fits into that system perfectly like no other. Just the chemistry that's going to be on that floor in the Garden is going to be unreal. It really is. Those guys all play the same style of basketball, just different shades of that style. But draft capital is massive in today's NBA, and these aren't picks coming up in the next year. These are picks far down the line. I believe it was 27, 28, 29.
And 2031.
Yeah. So lots of big picks coming down the line. This is, to me, this communicates the Knicks think they really can win a championship, and they're going to have to make this worthwhile at all. And update me on the Knicks team-controlled players. How long is everyone under control there? Because if everyone's there for at least the next 3 years and they got them under control for that, I really don't think this is the worst move. But if not, there's some trouble in paradise brewing.
So, yeah, Brunson, this is all off the top of my head. I think we have him locked down for 2 more years. But you're not worried about Brunson leaving because we've kind of done everything he's asked us to do. We got 4 Villanova guys, including Brunson, on this roster now. The Villanova Knicks are alive. I mean, these are literally his best friends. Josh Hart and him have a podcast together, and you add DiVincenzo and Mikal Bridges into the mix. Jalen Brunson's happy. He said he'd take a pay discount on his upcoming contract, which they could sign this offseason. But for now, I'll just talk about what's on the books right now. He's going to be getting paid, I believe, $23 million next year, and then like $22 million the year after that. So his contract,
that's nothing.
Yeah, when we signed his, you remember when we signed him a few summers ago? It was 4 years, 110, I believe, and a lot of people were saying overpay. Well, it turned out that was one of the best contracts that we've seen in the past decade. So that opens up a lot of flexibility for the rest of our team. Now we have OG Anunoby for 5 more years. We have Julius, I believe, for 2 more years, I believe. DiVincenzo for 3 more years. Hart for 3 more years. Deuce McBride, a key player off the bench, for 3 more years. And then Mitchell Robinson for 3 more years. And then we got to see what we do with Isaiah Hartenstein and, go from there. But as far as what we have right now, everybody's locked up. DiVincenzo is about $12 million a year. Hart is about the same. Deuce McBride is $3 million a year. Absolute steal.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see this number that OG Anunoby got, the 5 years to 12, I believe, it'll start at a $36 million a year salary. And then eventually by 2029, it'll go to $48 million. But right now we have about $80 million tied into Brunson, Bridges, and OG. And that is extreme value right there.
Mm-hmm.
Once you look at kind of all of our contracts as a scope, then you realize, okay, maybe that's a high number for OG Anunoby, but other teams are willing to pay more. Plus, our contract situation as a whole is very good. And yes, we are set to compete for the next 3-4 years.
Absolutely. The Knicks front office has done a phenomenal job with, like you said, that's phenomenal value for all those players, especially what they combine to create. The one other thing that I am curious about with this Knicks team is we've mentioned it a lot on our NBA podcast, but Julius Randle, there's a lot of differing opinions about him. Adding Bridges, I think, is tough when you have Julius Randle on your team because Julius Randle needs a lot of touches, and Bridges is more of a catch-and-shoot guy for sure, but I don't think that Julius Randle is the most effective drive and kick guy. If he would more, he would get a lot of assists, but he doesn't really like to move the ball well, at least in what I've seen from what I've watched Julius Randle do. I'm more familiar with Lakers Julius Randle, to be honest, in that era of him, and he was a very selfish guy back then. I think he's less so now if he's playing for Thibodeau effectively, but I am certainly worried about the ball handling situation in New York, and I think there's going to be there's mouths to feed. It's going to be a tough thing to keep together, especially if everyone's getting the touches they need, because this is a team it has a lot of players it can go to. So if they don't win a championship, some of those players might end up asking out. I don't know what the future holds for the Knicks, but draft night, baby.
Oh,
How
yeah.
we doing?
Where's Connect going tonight? So this draft is widely known as one of the worst drafts that we've seen in a very long time, 10 plus years. Many say this draft is like if you cut off the first 6 players in a draft. Our number 1 pick this year, who's going to be like Zachary Ricochet or Alex Sarr, would be like a 7th or 8th overall pick in years past or in just usual drafts. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It's almost more fun this way because everybody's kind of like, everybody's saying this draft isn't good anyway. So let's just, throw our hat in the game and see what comes out. So what players do you like the most here tonight? Obviously, Connect.
Yeah, I love Connect, of course, and I think he's the most NBA ready by far. And I think he's going to add a lot more value than people anticipate to a roster because he's a real plug-and-play guy. And I think he'll add that, like you were talking about with Mikal Bridges, that wing depth, that versatility. And he's picked up a lot on the defensive end. But it's really tough. I really don't know who in this draft I would pick if I had the first pick, to be perfectly honest. There's not a clear one at all.
I think Klingon is the safest. I mean, that guy.
I agree.
He can do everything you want a modern big to do at the size of 7'2", other than shoot the ball. But with the way offenses kind of work around that with just catching the ball down low and bringing it up to your point guard for a dribble handoff, that kind of alleviates the issues you would see with the non-shooting big. But his size and his rim protection is absolutely amazing. And there was no better example of that when they played Purdue. Or maybe the game against Illinois when they thought they could drive inside and UConn said, nah, he's 30 straight points unanswered. Yep. But that game and the Purdue game against ED definitely stand out for Klingon. And I think he's the safest pick. Capella is the center for the Hawks. He's aging. He's on his way out. And he relies so much on athleticism that it makes sense. So Klingon to me is the safest guy here. Other than that, I really like Reed Shepherd and Stephon Castle right after those guys. These French guys, Alex Sarr and Zachary Ricochet, I'm just not so sure about. I'd rather have Sarr than Ricochet. But
they've really fallen down draft boards too. They were a lot higher up for a long time, but they continue to fall.
But I've been hearing Ricochet 1 to the Hawks, which is pretty surprising. And then 2, the second pick is the Wizards. A lot of people are saying Alex Sarr. So it's going to be – we'll see. Will people trade up and maybe say, okay, this is our chance to swoop in, get a Reed Shepherd, a Donovan Klingon, or Stephon Castle? Or will they just kind of let the cards fall where they may? Because, I mean, there's going to be a lot of busts in this draft, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of guys who struggle to make even a 9-man rotation.
Mm-hmm. I am definitely inclined to agree. I think that Klingon's the safest pick by far. Just adding that rim presence has proven to be huge in today's NBA with just so many dominant bigs. Having a guy who can contend those guys, it's very big. It's a huge piece of success in the modern NBA. So I like that pick for sure. Stephon Castle, another guy, a lot of upside to him. Just with his size, if he could add a jumper, I mean, he's pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, freak athlete. So where do you want Connect to go tonight? I like Grizzlies. I don't even care about the Grizzlies that much. Probably like not very high in my interest level, but I think that'd be not only a good fit, but just great for Vols fans to kind of transfer to the other Tennessee person.
I honestly think that the Grizz is the best fit for him too. I need to double check and make sure I know the order tonight.
I believe they have pick 9.
Pick 9. I think we can get him there. They might have to trade up a little for him just because I think Connect is climbing boards. However, I really do think that Connect is a great fit on the Grizz, just with everything they have going on. Adding him, it adds much needed depth there, especially with injury issues that have plagued the Grizzlies. But I could also see Connect fitting in on a squad like the Blazers. I think that the Portland Trail Blazers could really benefit from his addition. But
the thing about – go ahead.
I was going to add, I really think that the Spurs could do a lot of damage. If you have Connect with Wemby, just the way that floor is going to stretch with size, that's a really nice fit. And Popovich, as your coach, should develop Connect into the guy that he truly can be.
Yeah.
I think that's where I want him to fall. I like the Grizz fit. The 8th pick, yep. So I like the Grizz pick, but I think that the Spurs, I think that fits him like a glove.
I completely agree. If it's not the Grizzlies, then I want it to be the Spurs. There's been talks of the Heat trading up into the top 10, and Connect would probably be a guy they'd be going after. And the good thing about Connect, he plays like a pro. I mean, he's got a pro body, 6'6", strong, athletic. Athletically, I mean, he didn't look like a great defender last year, but athletically and in the right system, he has kind of, the athletic traits to become at least a decent defender. And, at 6'6", it's much easier to do that versus like a Reed Shepherd who's 6'1", 6'2". But, I mean, even Reed Shepherd, that's a guy who I'd love to see go maybe 4 the Spurs, and then the Spurs get connected 8. I think those two guys would add an immediate jolt to the Spurs offense. If it's not Shepherd, then maybe Stephon Castle. But, if Vols fans could get their eyes on this Wembanyama guy, there would be a huge uptick in NBA interest in the Knoxville area, which it desperately needs.
Absolutely. Having Shepherd and Connect on the same team would be hilarious, but also makes perfect sense for that Spurs squad because both Connect and Shepherd add great defensive element while also adding that much, much, much needed scoring assistance for Wemby. But I'm also looking here on the other side of the board. As much as this is a draft where a lot of these top picks are not great, I think it's actually fairly deep. I think there's a lot of really good role players to be had and a lot of instant impact guys. A guy that's really fallen down the draft boards and sits in an area where the Knicks might be able to pick him up. And I do think he would make a good difference for him. Terrence Shannon Jr. Yeah. There's a lot of stink around him revolving a sexual assault case that reports have come out, and they've indicated that this case was a false accusation.
He's innocent.
So, really, really tough situation there. But Terrence Shannon Jr. could be a great fit for the Knicks, adding some size and just NBA readiness with his body. I mean, that's not a guy you have to wait to get fit. So I really think that could be a good rotation piece for the Knicks, especially adding him in lieu of Julius Randle and having him come in off the bench for him. Because I know Robinson and Hartenstein are great centers, but adding a good power forward that can add a little bit more versatility for that team could be huge.
Yeah, and he kind of reminds me of Stephon Castle. Both guys very versatile. But he's not going to be regarded as highly as Castle because he played 3 years at Illinois.
Yep.
And like you said, I mean, Thibodeau would say all the things you just said. NBA body, he's absolutely relentless defensively. Kind of finds really good angles to go to attack the rim at offensively. Because a lot of times when you watch basketball, people will look like they're trying to score, but when they drive to the rim, it seems they have no plan and have no idea what they're doing. This guy's a very deliberate rim runner, and you add that with his defensive capability. Absolutely. The Knicks would be a great spot. They have the 24th and 25th pick, I believe. I'm not going to talk about the Knicks all radio show, but a center is definitely in the cards. And that's a kind of – I can broaden that to all teams as a whole. The center position is kind of like the running back in the NFL. You're not going to pay it that much, and kind of when you have to, you're going to move on from a guy like Isaiah Hartenstein. And other teams are kind of witnessing this as well. The Thunder, for example, they're a team who could use a big like a Khalil Ware, like a Yves Missy, Dayron Holmes. There's a lot of guys that I'm looking at in this draft to make an impact similar to what Derek Lively did for the Mavericks, and a rookie who came in as a 19, 20-year-old, and immediately had an impact, whether it was off the bench, starting in spot situations, but really having a high motor defensively and being a threat around the rim, especially for a star point guard like Luka Doncic throw down lobs. So that type of stuff is or attributes any team can use, because the center position is kind of interchangeable. And if you can just get an athletic body who plays hard, then that helps your team a lot.
Absolutely. And the comparison between the center and the running back being the same position effectively is spot on. That's a great way to put it for people who don't know basketball terribly well. It's really the guy you move on from first, unless they're a absolute generational talent.
That being said, the best player in the league is Jokic.
Yes. Yep. It's like McCaffrey equals Jokic, essentially.
Yeah.
A lot of other good bigs down low, too. Another great wing, Kevin McCullar Jr., he really should be going higher, in my opinion. He's a senior, so the NBA teams don't like that yet. It's kind of perfect for these contending teams that are right on the fringe. They need NBA-ready guys, and I really think that if they took advantage of some of that in the draft this year, because we've seen a lot of squads that have really benefited from lower draft picks in playoff pushes. I mean, Jordan Poole for the Warriors, he wasn't the highest pick, and he really made a difference.
Peyton Pritchard for the Celtics.
Yep.
I mean, they got guys like Maxi Kleber, Derek Jones Jr., or Daniel Gafford, who weren't high picks at all. They don't think they were drafted by the Mavericks. Outside of maybe Kleber was. But, yeah, diamonds in the rough for sure, because with this new CBA that's kicking in this year, the second apron stuff, if it's no longer like, okay, your team can be this much above the salary cap, and all you have to do is your owner just has to pay, a luxury tax for you to kind of be allowed to do that. You are penalized heavily for being over the cap these in today's CBA rules. So getting value in these, like you said, these second round picks who have played a lot in college, they know the game very well, they know their role very well, and are very seasoned. And to get them on a cheap contract, that can be huge for a team like a Boston, like a Denver, like a Timberwolves, teams who have kind of the highest payrolls in the league right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think this is a great opportunity, this draft especially, for them to fill the gaps with there's a lot of experienced guys in this draft that are falling pretty far down. And for these teams that already have huge contracts that make moves nearly impossible to do outside of the starting five, it's a big draft for them. One more guy, and then I'll be done. If you have any other guys down here too that you're really excited about. Yeah. For me, I know we hate him in Knoxville, but Kyle Filipowski could add a lot of value to a team just with as a big. His level of finesse is pretty impressive. If he can stay healthy and do a good job down low of just rim protecting, and he does have a nice finishing touch. I really do think he could be a very solid piece coming off the bench for a team.
I'm excited to see Devin Carter from Providence in this league. 6'3", averaged 9 rebounds a game, was the main option for a poor offense. Didn't have much help around him, but shot 37% from the field on like 7 attempts from three. These are tough threes. Like in an offense that doesn't create much, and you're the only creator, it's going to be hard to get good looks. He's an absolute junk rat, scrappy dog, classic stuff you want out of a guard. He's only 6'3", I think it's 6'9" wingspan, but look to see him go potentially in the top 10, but most definitely in the teens. I'm very excited for him, and I think he's going to provide an immediate impact for a team wherever he goes to.
Absolutely. And with that, we got to go to a break. You're listening to Volunteer Radio, WTK 90.3 The Rock.
The Rock gives UT Athletic partner in their support. The 2024 football Vols will play home games inside Neyland Stadium against SEC rivals Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, and others. All Vols
Riding solo tonight.
You
riding solo tonight?
Just me and one other guy.
Well, I'm so glad we won the national championship.
So am I. It's amazing.
I can't believe that.
It's genuinely unreal.
They made it interesting.
They sure did. They scared us for a little bit.
That's about normal for the Vols.
Pretty much.
Been a Vol fan for a long time. I know that.
They do that every time.
Volunteer Radio receives support from Tennessee Smokies baseball. Chicago Cubs. 2024 regular season schedule features 6 games on Tuesday through Sundays now into September at Smoky Stadium. WQTK Rock Solid Sports on the Smokies updates. TheSmokiesBaseball.com.
Volunteer Radio receives support from Tennessee Smokies Baseball, the AA Southern League affiliate of the Chicago Cubs, whose 2024 regular season schedule features games against Chattanooga, Birmingham, Rocket City, and others at Smokies Stadium in Kodak. The next homestand is versus Chattanooga, Monday, July 1st through Wednesday, July 3rd. SmokiesBaseball.com. WUTK's Rock Solid Sports will keep you up to date with Smokies Baseball all season long. The SmokiesBaseball.com, and the link is at WUTKRadio.com.
Knoxville, be sure to tune in Wednesday nights from 8 until 10 for the alternative. Featuring 2 hours of the best in Americana music from the station that first brought Knoxville music. Find bands from back in the old country road, like Queen on the River, the Blasters, the Jayhawks, Uncle Tupelo and Jason and the Scorchers, the 90s Americana, like the B-Boys, Whiskey Cow, Gillian Welch, Wilco, and others. Modern-day Americana musicians like Margot Price, Zach Bryan, Tyler Childers, heard by Two-Force and Charlie Crockett. There'll also be classic Americana like Lucinda Williams, the Flying Burrito Brothers, and the Birds. And there's local Americana by Army Morris, Bruce Gutierrez, Trisha Jean Brady, Anita the Artist, and others. There's always Magic 99 and James's Great Whiskey at Commercial. Access some upcoming Americana concerts in the area. So, if Americana music makes your musical park take time, tune in Wednesday nights at 8 Alternative. Sponsored by Boyd Chicken Grill, Blizzard, and Bliss Hub. And only on 90.3 The Rock, Texas College of Rock.
Everybody, this is Bear from Bottle Georgia. Listen to 90.3 The Rock, UT's College of Rock.
Yeah, welcome back in. WUTK 90.3 The Rock. We got Wednesday night edition, Rock Solid Sports. Oh, Mr. Justin.
Mr. Dominic.
We got some Stanley Cup to wrap up here. First off, in this third segment, tragedy has befallen the league, and the Florida Panthers are champions. That might be good news for some, but
what's so bad about that? Tell me. I'm out of the NHL talking loops. I mean, I watched this series, a little bit. I watched the last game especially, but after the Tennessee game, I guess I only saw 4 minutes of the game 7. But
yeah,
what's wrong with the Panthers?
There's nothing really wrong with them. I'm just personally, I really would have loved to see Edmonton come back from 3-0. I mean, that is something that's almost never achieved in sports. Would have been the first time since I believe it was the 1946 Toronto Maple Leafs. They came back from 3-0 to win the cup, and so could have seen some history happen. I also really want Connor McDavid, the new Wayne Gretzky, to get the cup, but alas, he's going to have to wait a little bit longer.
No, he could have. No points in the last 2 games.
Yep, and that stings for Edmonton.
He's great, though.
He is.
I mean, as a casual hockey watcher, I used to watch a ton of Preds games in the mid-2010s and just kind of lost interest over time. But McDavid is someone that you can just look at, never seen hockey before. That guy just skates different. The way he just weaves through – the 5 other skaters on the other team is magnificent, and he'll definitely get some more cracks at it. Edmonds with the Oilers, because you also got Draisaitl on that team, and Draisaitl. I mean, the passes he makes are absolutely incredible. But sometimes the best player in the league doesn't win it all. It's just another case of that. I mean, Jason Tatum. We're not even going to
Jason Tatum doesn't belong anywhere in any conversation. But no, it's a little bit of a bummer, but super exciting for South Florida hockey. I mean, Florida, you're a little bit spoiled, though, with all sports. Tampa Bay Lightning won
in
a
the
lot
weather,
too.
In the beaches.
What doesn't Florida have? They don't have the Vols. I'll tell them that.
Their tax situation.
Yeah, they really got it made down there. So I'd really prefer for someone else to win the cup. But Barkov getting a cup is cool. He's been in the league for a while, and he's been one of the top talents. No one's cared about him because he's been playing for the Florida Panthers, and that's a franchise no one cares about. So good to see him win the cup. Good. You know, it's wrong because the Panthers, they feel like a small market team, but they're in Miami. They're not a small market team. So I don't know. A lot of mixed feelings about that one.
So I heard a few tidbits about the Florida Panthers and how much they struggled in the 2010s. They'd give out like 4,000 free tickets a game when they were really struggling in the 2010s. They had a program that if you had a Florida ID and you'd never been to a game, then you can just get a ticket. So it was at its worst when LeBron went to the Heat because absolutely nobody cared about hockey.
Yep.
And literally, if any of the eyeballs that did care about sports in Miami, because there's so many other things to do in Miami, it was on the Miami Heat, or and then if not, then the Miami Dolphins. So it's cool to see them go from what that was, giving out free tickets, not being able to fill their 20,000 seat stadium to 2 championships. Is this their second championship in the 2020s?
No, it's
their
first ever.
Oh, first. Okay, first ever.
Yeah.
But I heard something too. Like they're able to retain all these guys and kind of keep them from cheaper because these contracts the players sign, they'll retain more of it versus signing in like Canada or out west where the taxes will take a big chunk out of those salaries.
It is really interesting, just as a trend in sports as a whole. Athletes have been paying attention to taxes, and they're moving to teams that will give them a lot of money and not make them pay a lot in taxes. So really interesting dynamic there as money, yet again, becomes a really important factor.
Yeah, Dan Hurley was, it looked like the Lakers gave him more money than UConn, but actually after you do all the taxes, then he's making more money at UConn. So it's another example.
Yeah. I don't know how to feel about it. That's a weird issue in sports where, to an extent, I kind of feel like the league should say, hey, like teams in higher tax areas, you can pay your players more. Obviously, it hurts the team more to pay them more, but if it's going to retain players, I don't really see a way that hurts anyone. I feel like that should start to be a thing because it's looking pretty rough. A lot of players are really starting to pay attention to that, but
yeah, it's some WTK's rock solid economics.
Yeah, we are a radio station on a college campus. We do take economics classes from here, a little bit here and there. I know I've taken my fair share, but yeah, I mean, this could be the beginning of a little tiny dynasty for the Panthers. I don't see it lasting terribly long, just because Barkov is starting to get up there in the years, and he's the main piece of that squad for sure. Bobrovsky, old man in net too. They got some old men on that team. Good to see some of them get a cup. Not so good to see others, of course. Everyone has their villains and heroes in the NHL. But I kind of wanted to flip it to MLB. We really don't talk a lot of MLB on this show. And it's a fun baseball season this year. There's a lot of exciting storylines, and I'm doing you all a favor. I know it's Braves country around here, and so I'm going to talk about them first. The Braves, they're having a little bit of a tough time right now, faltering behind the Phils, 7.5 games behind Bryce Harper, the notorious Vol fan, and company in the NL East. It's tough sledding right now for the Braves. Strider and Acuna out for the foreseeable future. Losing Acuna was huge because we already knew Strider was going to have surgery early on in the season, but this team is going to have to make a wild card push. I really don't see the Phillies faltering much more, just with how hot they've looked as of late. One of the best teams in all of baseball right now, for better or for worse. I know how much y'all hate them down here. I'm not a big fan of them either, don't worry. But yeah, it's tough for the Braves right now. The injuries just continue to plague this team. Role players here and there getting injured as well. Guys like Austin Riley, the catcher, not really being at full health, and then also relievers getting the short end of the stick. Braves going to have to do some tough maneuvering to keep themselves in the wild card hunt. However, I truly don't think it's that difficult of a wild card hunt right now in the NL. There's not a lot of great second teams besides the Braves. How are you feeling about this Braves team, Justin, if anything at all?
So, not much. I'm not feeling much about this Braves team because I haven't been big into the MLB ever. So I was going to ask you, for other people listening that have enjoyed this baseball season so much and haven't really gotten a taste of the MLB, what's the biggest difference between the pro baseball and college baseball, and also kind of sell me on getting into the MLB?
All right. Let me work this for you. So So I know there's a lot of college football. Of course, there's college football fans listening, but college baseball fans now listening in too. The biggest difference between the MLB and college, it's a lot, honestly. The talent difference is genuinely, to an extent, unreal. I mean, you're seeing the same pitches you see in college, but 10 miles per hour faster, whether it's a fastball, changeup, slider, whatever. Quite literally, most pitches are like 10 miles per hour faster, unless you got guys who are really throwing heat down here, which we're a little bit more used to in the SEC. But the average college baseball pitcher is throwing a lot less velocity, a lot less control. And so baseball at its core in the MLB is a huge chess match, and it's based on a lot of gambles. Hitters have to approach each at bat differently, just depending on who's on the mound, what they've been throwing, what's looks good for them that day. There's just so much strategy in every little decision in baseball, and you see it in college as well. But in the MLB, there's so many little things that just pile up in fractions of a difference. And just for me, I'm a big pitching fan. I love watching good pitching, even though for a lot of people, that's not the most exciting thing about baseball. They want to see homers. Pitching is it's the biggest chess match in all sports. You have a guy weaving one way with a curveball. You have a guy slipping the other way with the slider. And then you finish him off with a fastball that blows right by him. There's so many different ways to approach each at bat, and that's part of what makes it so fun. But if you truly want to get into the MLB, go to an MLB ballpark, buy a hot dog, buy a beer. You will have a great time. I can almost guarantee it. The MLB is one of the most fun leagues to watch in person. The stadium experience is great. It's just chilling out on a nice summer day, doing your two favorite things, watching sports and eating food and drinking. I mean, how else could I sell you on that?
Yeah, that's true. The only baseball game I've been to actually was in Japan, the Hanshin Tigers, which they love their baseball. It was about
They do.
It was like a very old classic stadium, one of the nicer ones in the country. Yeah, that was fun. You mentioned beers and hot dogs. You ever done the 9 innings, 9 beers, 9 hot dogs?
Not yet, but I would really like to at some point, although I'll have to fast a day before that, simply because both of those fill up your stomach so fast.
Would that be a bad way to experience your first MLB game?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Just make sure you do it out.
The only way for some.
Yeah. Just make sure you do it out in the outfield with the rest of the crazy people. The cheap tickets are a party. The outfield stands are a hoot in baseball. Highly recommend it. Real quick, before we start wrapping things up here, I do, of course, have to shout out my Dodgers. The Dodgers, they're sitting atop the NL West at 50-31, 8.5 games in front of the Padres. And obviously, that's one of the biggest storylines in baseball right now. Shohei Ohtani continuing to perform at an MVP caliber level as Dave Roberts has moved him to a leadoff hitter in lieu of Mookie Betts, who unfortunately got injured, hand fractured by a fastball from a Royals pitcher. Not a pretty injury to watch. Not the best thing to happen to one of your best guys. And yeah, it's certainly a fun time in the baseball world. And with that, I really think we've said all there is to say. Going to wrap it up here, hand it off to the alternative here in a second. Thank you so much for joining us, y'all. You've been listening to the Rock Solid Sports Show on WUTK 90.3 The Rock. All right. I'll get out of your hair here.